Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 6th regular meeting of Council. I'd like to first recognize we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Our clerk tonight will be Ms. Sheila Gurry. We also have Councillor Armstrong attending electronically tonight. Tonight's meeting of Council is being held in accordance with the Community Charter and Council Procedure Bylaw 2018, number 7272. So if during the meeting any member of the gallery has a question regarding an agenda item, please write down your name and the agenda item on the question period sign-up sheet, which is on the table by the double doors to my left. Please note that the Council Procedure Bylaw has been changed and states that questions will only be taken on staff reports, consent items, or other business items. In addition, before I start the meeting, I'd like to take a few moments to remind those who are attending in person about the rules of decorum for all council and committee meetings. A meeting of council is intended to be a place where democracy can freely take place in a respectful and safe manner. The council chambers is a workplace, and there are considerations council and staff must make to ensure that a safe work environment exists in accordance with WorkSafe BC regulations. To support this, in accordance with Council's procedure bylaw, a disrespectful conduct will not be tolerated, so we ask that there be no cheering, jeering, or other outbursts from the gallery at any time. Furthermore, the use of electronic devices for recording or for photographing is prohibited unless otherwise authorized by the chair. This will ensure that anyone speaking, whether it be a delegation, member of council, or staff, is not interrupted and can make their point freely without distraction, fear of ridicule, or intimidation. In instances where a speaker is being inappropriate or has exceeded their time limit, their microphone will be cut off. Similarly, if there are outbursts by any person in the gallery, they will be asked to stop, and if they do not comply, they may be asked to leave as permitted under Section 133 of the Community Charter. If necessary, Council may call a recess in order to reset the environment of the Council chambers. It is our belief that if everyone is respectful of these basic considerations, this meeting and future meetings will be more effective in furthering the business of the City of Nanaimo. The first item on the agenda is the introduction of late items, Ms. Gurry, and we have a number tonight, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Council. For late items this evening, we have Agenda Item 12A, Friendship City Program and Policy, the addition of delegations from Michael Guan and Stephen Ma. For Agenda Item 12D, Downtown Nanaimo Business Association, Business Improvement Area, the addition of a PowerPoint presentation from Roberta Bowman, Executive Director, Downtown Nanaimo Business Association, titled Downtown Nanaimo Bylaw Levy Renewal. For Agenda Item 13A, Housing Agreement Application Number HA14 for 224 White Court Way, as well as Housing Agreement Application Number HA15 for 95 Kennedy Street, the addition of delegation from Graham Manali, and they are available for any questions Council may have. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Motion for adoption of the agenda is amended. Moved Councillor Perino, seconded Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion for adoption of the minutes is circulated. Moved Councillor Hemmons, seconded Councillor Eastmere. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. For the Mayor's report, I do have a number of items tonight, but I'm going to ask Councillor Hemmons to go first, who's going to provide an update re the Vancouver Island Regional Library's 2026 budget. Please, Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's my pleasure to provide Council with an update on the business of the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board, precipitated by the passing of Budget 2026 on September 20th. The budget represents a $37.6 million investment into public libraries, which is $1.5 million or 4.6% increase over the 2025 levy. Levies are calculated based on population and converted land value, and the City of Nanaimo provides $7.3 million or 19% of the total rural budget. A couple of highlights from work this year in Masset. The Northern Haida Gwaii, Virl replaced a beloved but aging building and embraced an innovative partnership with Haukilne, the Haida Language Immersion Lab, which attracted federal funding, which was a real win for us. That's the first time we've ever been able to attract federal funding. It also received interest in an in-person visit from BC's Minister of Indigenous Relations, the Honourable Spencer Chandra Herbert. I want to give a special thanks to the former Executive Director of Virl, Ben Hyman, for really championing that project, in particular that relationship with the Village of Old Masset Chief and Council. That project is really, the innovation and the attraction of federal funding is really owed to him. On the topic of HR, I want to acknowledge Mr. Hyman's departure to the Vancouver Public Library, which was hard for Burrell, but I'm so excited for the sector writ large to have Ben at the helm there. We have an amazing senior leadership team who kind of rushed in to fill that gap, and they include Eileen Gillette, she's the interim executive director, Jen Windecker as the interim deputy executive director, and last but certainly not least, our amazing director of finance, Jamie Slater. Another key piece of work that was completed this year was the standardized schedule and operating review. This was a multi-year process to undertake a system-wide review aimed at ensuring equitable service delivery across the diverse service area, and I just want to frame up for you guys. The service area of the Vancouver Island Regional Library goes from Souk in the south to Masset in northern Haida Gwaii. It's 42,000 square kilometers. It includes 53 First Nations, and it has 38 communities represented. So my board is comprised of 38 elected representatives. And when I say that we passed Budget 2026, I want to share that that was unanimous. And on a budget of 38, that's quite tricky and took a lot of work getting there. So pretty proud of that. Finally, on the advocacy front, I'm really grateful to the UBCM Executive for Special Resolution 3, which represented more than a decade of work undertaken by local governments to highlight the fact that the provincial funding for the sector has fallen over the last several decades from 21% to less than 5%. I was grateful for the support of delegates to move an amendment reminding the provincial government that there is a non-monetary path forward that is provided for in the Library Act. And this is important because in the question and answer that the Premier took after his speech to UBCM delegates, he indicated that as much as he loves the library, there's no funding in their budget for libraries. So I was pleased that delegates supported that concept that we don't, money is great, but we actually have to have conversation with the provincial government about that reduced investment. So close out with some Nanaimo specific stats, which are always really impressive. So 1/3 of all Nanaimo area residents are active library card holders. That's a pretty amazing stat. I don't know many other public services that touch 1/3 of our population every day. The 3 Nanaimo branches have a combined 7 meeting rooms. They were booked over 2,000 times in 2024, serving almost 17,000 Nanaimo residents. The 3 branches circulated close to 600,000 items in 2024, and Nanaimo Nanaimo residents are very heavy users of Overdrive, circulating about 250,000 items in 2024. We provided 394 programs for a total attendance of 11,388 Nanaimo residents. And if you were to convert the cost of all of that borrowing for Nanaimo residents into dollars, it would be $10.6 million in 2024. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Emmons. I'll start off with a recap of the Union of BC Municipalities Conference, which was held in Victoria on September 22nd to 26th. For those of you who aren't aware, it's an opportunity for local government leaders from across the province to gather together, and it provides local elected officials with the opportunity to meet with cabinet ministers and their staff to discuss a range of topics that are priority for their communities. During this year's convention, members of Nanaimo Council met with a number of provincial ministers or their delegates, and highlighting those were a meeting with the Deputy Premier and Attorney General to speak about the social disorder and the need for more resources to be dedicated to Nanaimo's court system, including an increase to the number of Crown Counsel and the need for increased provincial investment for restorative justice. We also met with the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs to speak to the funding challenges facing local governments and urging provincial action on funding shelter beds and drop-in spaces while highlighting the critical need for more below-market and affordable housing units in Nanaimo. We also met with the Minister of State for Community Safety and Integrated Services to shed light on Nanaimo's challenges related to the lack of adequate resources in areas under provincial jurisdiction, and to advocate for increased resources dedicated to mental health and addiction services and the sentencing of prolific offenders. We also met with the Deputy Minister of Infrastructure in the absence of the Minister, where we stressed the need for both a new cath lab at the hospital and a new patient tower, and a replacement building for Nanaimo District Senior Secondary. Council also met with representatives from Island Health to discuss priorities related to NRGH and the need for more investments into mental health, substance use, addiction, and recovery services in the community. That is a topic that I know is on everyone's lips and has been so for a very long time. During the convention, local governments come together to also debate and vote on resolutions which have been endorsed by councils or regional district boards, and it provides an opportunity for local government from across the province to express their concerns, share their experiences, and take a united position. A resolution calling for the provincial government to recognize housing as a human right, co-sponsored by Nanaimo and a number of other BC municipalities, was endorsed. Other resolutions that were endorsed echoed key topics of advocacy for Nanaimo Council, including calling for the province to invest in a long-term predictable funding program to support local government infrastructure needs, and urging the provincial government to increase annual core funding for public libraries and establish an advisory body to review the funding model. It was a very useful but busy week for those members of council who were able to attend. Now, the city is also seeking input in how to pay for growth. We're asking residents, developers, and community partners to share their thoughts on how we fund infrastructure and amenities needed for new development. We're reviewing two tools: development cost charges. These help pay for things like roads, sewer, water, parks, fire and police services and waste facilities, and amenity cost charges, ACCs. These help fund community spaces like recreation centers, libraries, public squares, and daycare facilities. These charges make sure that the new development pays its fair share, so existing taxpayers aren't covering all of the costs of amenities and infrastructure necessary to support the new growth. The money collected goes into special reserves and is only used for approved projects. These charges are collected when a subdivision is approved for low-density housing, for example, and when a building permit is issued for higher-density housing, commercial, industrial, or institutional buildings. Now, just a little reminder, October is Emergency Preparedness Month in Nanaimo. Now in its sixth year, the City of Nanaimo's Emergency Preparedness Month is set to bring residents important messaging about how to prepare for a number of emergency situations. Everyone should be ready for everything from fires and earthquakes to storms and power outages. Fire Prevention Week, which runs from October 5th to 11th, will focus on charge into fire safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home. On October 16th, prepare to drop, cover, and roll, and as the province-wide Great Shakeout Earthquake Drill will take place at 10:16 a.m. Residents can participate by registering at www.shakeoutbc.ca and listening for the drill on 102.3 FM The Wave or 106.9 FM The Wolf radio stations. Pay attention, folks, because we don't know when the big one's coming, and you never know when fire and disaster are going to strike, and with the changing weather patterns we're seeing extremes, it's really important to be ready for that emergency. We're also advising residents to use city online services during the postal strike disruptions. Obviously, everyone is facing disruptions, so consider the following. The kinds of things you would normally get from the city that will be affected: user rate statements. User bills for categories 22 to 25 are in the process of being generated and will be due by the end of October. For account balances, please enroll for, quote, mycity.nanaimo.ca on the city's website or contact user.rates@nanaimo.ca. Additional dwelling unit declarations. Residents submitting a declaration for exemption from additional user rates can only do so online by email or user.rates@nanaimo.ca or by visiting the Service and Resource Centre located at 411 Dunsmuir Street. Vendor payments. For vendors not set up for electronic deposit, please contact the Finance Department at 250-754-4251 extension 4210 to enroll in electronic funds transfer, EFT, or to request that your check be made available for pickup at 411 Dunsmuir. Residents and business owners are encouraged to sign up for an online account with the city. This can be done by signing up for MyCity, the online service, to view current and past bills, and these services include building permit applications, business license applications and payments, dog license applications, dog license payments, and invoice payments. On the spending front, the city, I think very wisely, has purchased 2 further Loudon Park properties, so that the park has been extended with the purchase of 4246 and 4288 Victoria Avenue. In addition to increasing community access to Long Lake, the expanded park land will provide more options to benefit the surrounding neighborhood and wider community as part of the Loudon Park improvement projects. The project addresses priorities in the integrated action plan with plans to improve the park and support the Nanaimo Rowing Club and Nanaimo Canoe and Kayak Club, which is long called Long Lake home for many, many years. These upgrades are part of a broader effort to make Loudon Park more accessible and enjoyable for all of us. In observing Truth and Reconciliation Day, and in accordance with the suggestion from Snuneymuxw First Nation, who wanted to focus on sports and family on Reconciliation Day, for the 5th annual Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we hosted 3 events at 3 civic facilities in recognizing a community event for health and reconciliation at Oliver Woods Community Centre, 780 participants, Nanaimo Aquatic Centre, 1,319 participants, and the Nanaimo Ice Centre, 425 participants for a total of 2,524. I can say that staff reported back many positive comments and appreciation, providing an opportunity to come together and show support for the community. Many Snuneymuxw First Nation members who have historically been very successful athletes have brought a lot of recognition and honor to the city over many years, and as part of the ongoing work of reconciliation, we need to remember and recognize those folks. And in addition, the City of Nanaimo resurfacing machine, the famous Zamboni, for those who watch hockey, features a new Snuneymuxw designed wrap. Noel Brown, a very well-known local artist, and in accordance with our commitment to truth and reconciliation, designed a new wrap that was added to one of the city's ice surfacing machines. Noel Brown is a master carver, member of Snuneymuxw First Nation. Over the years, most of you have probably passed by some of his work. That includes the welcome poles at Maffeo Sutton Park and Fire Station 1. Each year he also designs the artwork for the city's orange shirts honoring the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And this year's orange shirt design is featured prominently in the hood of the ice resurfacer. A lovely ceremony was held on Wednesday, October the 1st with Chief Wise and elders attending along with others, and a good time was had by particularly the young hockey players from Salish Storm who pounded the ice vigorously with their hockey sticks. And on a somber note, I want to take a few moments to recognize the passing of a friend of mine, but most importantly, a former member of City Council from 1976 to 1980, Nelson Allen. He passed away on September 16th at the age of 86. His parents had immigrated from England and settled in Prince George, which is where he was born. He'd been a resident of Nanaimo since 1969. For some of the somewhat older people in Nanaimo, you will remember that Nelson was a teacher for 22 years and served on the District 68 School Board as well from 2001 to 2011. And his message was always the same: students first. And he worked hard to provide them with the best instructional supports to improve learning outcomes. He was very involved in working to establish the environmental movement in BC and Canada with an organization that only the real gray hairs in the audience might remember tonight, and that was the Society for Pollution and Environmental Control. The famous Derek Mallard established that, and that was some of the work that Nelson was involved in. He was also a very active member of one of our Rotary clubs, and indeed received the Paul Harris Fellowship, which is a great honor within the Rotarians community. In 2012, he was the recipient of the prestigious honor, the Governor General Award, and the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee Medal for his contributions to BC and Canada in education, the environment, and his working in promoting democratic institutions. He was, throughout his life, a warrior for social and economic justice. And consistent with his incredible sense of duty to and love for his community, long after he was retired, when he'd finished his work on the school board, Nelson worked for nothing for the City of Nanaimo by being a member of the Board of Variance as well, and he is to be recognized for that contribution. On behalf of Council, I want to extend our sympathies to his wife Donna and his family, and thank Nelson for the contributions he made to this city. He was a fine example of what citizenship means in our community, and for him, a lifelong devotion carried on almost to the end of his life. With that, Ms. Gurry, the next item, there's nothing to rise and report. We do have presentations tonight. Looking forward to both of them. The first is Carly Pereboom, Executive Director, Tourism Nanaimo, the semi-annual update from Tourism Nanaimo. Ms. Pereboom, good evening. The mic is yours.
Good evening. Just gonna move that over. Good. Thank you. And make sure I know how to work this. This green one's a little forward. Right? Yes? Okay. All right, I've got it up on the screen there. Good evening. It's nice to see you all again. Thank you for having me this evening. It's an honor to be here on Snuneymuxw Nation's territory, whose land we are on this evening. I had a recent opportunity to welcome a conference last week with Elder Lolly Good, and in that welcome, she welcomed us with song, language, and her appreciation for being here. Today, I was able to speak with Elder David Baudelay, who was there with us at our workshop, and he also expressed the interest and need for communication, learning, and sharing and collaboration. And so with that in mind, I'm happy to be here this evening and share with all of you some of our learnings from this last quarter for Tourism Nanaimo. So we're gonna go over some summer stats, some industry data, and some activities that we've been doing over this last quarter, and also where we're headed in the new year. I'm just gonna move this too. And on to the next slide. So really what we're looking at here, and what we were looking at going into this last quarter before the summer season started, was a real trend in Canadian travel. 47% up from 2024, Canadians plan to take leisure trips more this summer, with 69% more than last year planning to travel within Canada. And we really saw this shift was driven by concerns over trade tensions, political climate, safety, poor exchange rates, and of course the diminished sense of safety that we were seeing on an international stage. For Nanaimo though, this meant a prime opportunity to capture spending redirected from the US to Canada, and to make sure that we were a close-to-home destination for Canadians seeking an authentic experience driven by travel. When we think about some of the tactics that were involved leading up to this tourism season and what this would mean, we really looked at capitalizing on raising this domestic travel demand. We also looked at leveraging younger travelers, which is a demographic of 18 to 54, just to be clear. We also really looked at strengthening our regional collaboration, so this meant working actively with Destination BC and communities to support multi-stop itineraries and media hosting, as well as maintaining active partnerships across the region and province. We also looked at the travelers, and we looked at targeting most open segments. So what this meant was continuing to target Vancouver, lower mainland audiences, and broadening our Canadian reach with a new brand awareness campaign that we did launch in Toronto in this last quarter as well. So what does this mean? What does all this industry data look like? Well, there's growing traveler concern for the south of the border, which means only increased inbound travel for Canada, which is an opportunity for us to attract more visitors. And while tourism isn't subject to tariffs, certainly trust and perception here really matter. So our focus was really clear this last quarter. We were reassuring the messaging that highlighted safety, hospitality, respect, and showcasing Nanaimo's inclusive, welcoming spirit, which really plays off of the come as you are, you'll fit right in messaging that remains to be really strong and continues to guide our very community-aligned travel propositions in market. And this continues to also align with our partners in community. So now we'll get into some numbers, which has been exciting to dive into. The impact of these shifting travel behaviors really showed that we have a clear marketing response. And Nanaimo achieved its strongest summer on record, with occupancy reaching 88% in July, 93% in August, and these were the highest levels recorded since tracking began in 2000. This performance not only surpassed pre-pandemic numbers, but also outpaced comparable communities with the provincial average overall. So Nanaimo is on the stage. What does this mean for visitor data? It really showed us that most of our travelers are still coming from Vancouver Island in the Lower Mainland. That's our true bread and butter. But it's also showing the confirming of effectiveness in our targeting. So revealing that we have growth opportunities in Alberta, the rest of BC, and a slim margin in the international market. When it comes to revenue per available room, this also grew substantially. We were 12% up in June, and we were 21% up in July, and 20% up in August compared to 2024, which is a huge shift from the previous year. Now, it's not always about data. We've also been out and about doing lots of other work, so I'll carry that over to you. So Tourism Nanaimo in Q3, initiatives strengthened both inclusivity, collaboration, and year-round destination appeal, which is the key pillars of our destination development plan. Through direct outreach to 88 local businesses, the team expanded awareness in programs like Rainbow Registry and the Nanaimo Unlocked Pass, while the LGBTQ+ experience survey drew over 300 responses to inform future inclusion tourism strategies. Event and sport hosting efforts continued to elevate Nanaimo's profile with active conference participation, new RFP submissions, and the successful management and relaunch of the sport hosting grant. On the marketing front, campaigns such as Sinamuk Days, Pride, and Not a Resort Town showcases Nanaimo's authentic and welcoming spirit, while the Sisseton Shoulder Season campaign drove an additional 6% visitor increase. New photo and video assets have captured this momentum, and it's only strengthening Nanaimo's visual identity in markets. These Q3 efforts built out real momentum, deepening our inclusion and driving our off-season growth and showcasing a destination that is proudly authentic and collaborative with all. Today, we hosted our annual planning session with 56 folks in attendance. This is industry cross-sectional with also city staff also being in attendance. This is on top of the one-on-one interviews that we did throughout the summer and had a survey launched out in community as well to ensure that we are capturing a broad spectrum of concerns, opportunities, and risks that are facing us in the industry on a local level. This is what essentially is the homework before we start writing our 2026 annual plan, which is due at the end of November and is submitted to the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, and Culture. I'm very excited to get all that together. So when we're thinking about economic impact, this is always a question that folks have for us. And really, the Q3 efforts advanced, again, the 5-year destination development plan by driving high-value visitation through sport, conference, and event attraction. These results reflected Tourism Nanaimo's booked activity only. So these are only our numbers. This is not inclusive of the conference center in its entirety or other avenues that are happening through the city's relations directly. The first sport hosting grant intake invested $35,000 across 8 events, generating an estimated $3.1 million in economic impact, a strong return that we feel enforces Nanaimo's growing reputation as a capable sport host city. We also had a successful 55+ games. The meetings and conferences, Tourism Nanaimo hosted 10 site visits. We booked 7 new conferences, including 6 provincial and 1 national association, and supported 14 events to date. We've welcomed more than 3,600 delegates through these activities alone, and 11 multi-day events are already left ready to host for this year before we clean out this quarter. So combined, these strategic efforts represent $1.5 million in estimated economic impact this year. And while Tourism Nanaimo's targeted event strategy is delivering real results, we're looking to fuel millions in economic impact, filling hotel rooms, and positioning ourselves as a vibrant hub for not only sport, but our conference travel as well. Tourism Nanaimo goes into this end of the year with a strong position to build on domestic demand while preparing for an international rebound in 2026. I was with you at UBCM. The economic outlook was tenuous. However, we are an industry that is resilient, and the year ahead should focus on capturing regional and event-driven travel opportunities, particularly spillover from large-scale events happening in Vancouver, while continuing to strengthen our inclusive destination. Momentum from the Not a Resort Town campaign is providing a strong foundation to extend our visitor interest through the summer season and into our seasonal gaps, and we're showcasing the vibrancy, the harbor character, and the year-round appeal. Indigenous tourism partnerships and also seasonal experience development are remaining central to both reconciliation efforts and our product diversification that will take us through various seasons. Forecasting into 2026 reflects a steady domestic growth, modest international recovery groundwork, and expanding regional collaboration will deepen that. Our deepening of community storytelling, which we heard loud and clear today in the workshops, is really what's going to take the community into a long-term destination that shows equity across the board. I do have a slide here, but I'm not going to show you, but if you look on YouTube, Not a Resort Town is up there. I know there's a big agenda tonight. So I'll close out by saying this summer's record-breaking performance can really show how it's possible when we act strategically and collaborate closely across the community, that is really what makes Nanaimo unique, but also creates a sustainable sector. And together we're proving that we're not a stop along the way anymore. We're a destination in our own right, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions for you this evening.
Thank you very much. Questions? So I just wanted to ask one, you made reference to comparing us to Kamloops, et cetera. So we're how shall I say, punching above our weight? Is that a fair comment?
Very much so, sir.
Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and exciting to see the numbers. I think what I've seen coming out of tours in Nanaimo has been really impressive, and I love the way that you're showcasing the city and not, making it too glossy, like we're kind of gritty, we're kind of weird, and we like it that way. You mentioned something about like compression on the island and how maybe that was a benefit for Nanaimo this year. Can you just sort of speak more to that?
So this past year when we had the fires on the island, what happens is we worked with the BC Hotel Association. So when there's that many people displaced, we're seeing that they are moving in from different regions throughout, and Nanaimo had the capacity to hold them, which really brought in that deep compression that we saw. But that wasn't unique just to us. We also saw this across the entire island, compression happening this summer. So the island overall is becoming a larger destination, and Nanaimo's really starting to have a foothold there as the affordability central area of the island, which I think is an opportunity that we can keep working with.
And I just wanted to ask about the Tourism Nanaimo office. How are you finding, is that working downtown, and how's that going?
It's fantastic, and it's great to be in the heart of the downtown part of the city. I mean, we're very conscious about the fact that it's a very sprawling city, and we try and make our way across it overall, but the team being together and being able to be so accessible for everybody and to be able to host meetings, obviously in the downtown core, close to city council and everything else, really benefits the team overall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if I may, Olivia and Cora, it's time to go to bed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next presentation is John McCormick, Executive Director, Nanaimo Systems Planning Organization, a semi-annual update from the SPO. Mr. McCormick, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship, and council members. Thanks for inviting me. Just going to go through a brief presentation. There's 11 slides, but I'll be very brief tonight. I just wanted to give you touch on some work we're doing right now that I think is going to have a significant impact moving forward. There we go. Are we good to go?
I hope so.
Great. Okay, so as always, I'd just like to remind us that the System Planning Organization was set up as a result of the work of the Health and Housing Action Plan, and I've noticed that Lisa Bhopal Singh is back in the fold, and I want to acknowledge the great work that she did in establishing the Health and Housing Action Plan. We know the SPO's work is primarily focused on trying to address the housing challenges that we're facing in the community. Functional zero is, of course, the goal. We're a long way from that, but that is still the North Star that we work towards every day. And as you know, we try and do our work in a collective way, using research, convening as much as possible, coordinating a systems approach, and addressing systems gaps, which is really, I think, where we live a lot of the time. I just wanted to identify a few of the projects on this list that we're working on. One is we're working with, and I think I spoke at the last time I presented to council about the need for really understanding precarity. So we're focused on doing some research with Nanaimo NYSA, Nanaimo Youth Services Association, on a youth precarity project. We're also working with the University of Calgary's Dr. Ron Kneebone on addressing or understanding much better the situation that exists in Nanaimo around housing precarity. And on another project front, we are working with Colliers Canada to build a strategy around non-market housing, which is, I think, a really significant piece of work that we're going to be doing over the next few months. First meeting is with the steering committee on Friday of this week. So I'm looking forward to how that moves us forward. And then thirdly, some of the things we'll be speaking about is that we are working with private funding to seek to secure rental stock that we can access as community agencies to be able to house people in. So again, another example of kind of how we're trying to address the challenges that we're facing as a community in ways that are within our means as a community organization and as a system planning organization. This slide, Esri Canada in 2025, every year does a staff challenge. Esri Canada is the organization that provides GIS services that the city uses extensively and other communities use to, as you know, to plan your functions and manage the city. They chose the Nanaimo System Planning Organization as their national organization for a staff challenge that they do every year. And it was really interesting to be a part of that process. We worked a little bit with city staff on that, and with Mark and team, and also with Christy Woods, and to participate in this challenge. And they've recently come back to us with the results of that work. And we were able to choose an app that we think is a good fit. And we'll be working with city staff to see how we can deploy that in a way that helps the community agencies have a better sense of what's going on in the community and to operate in a more seamless way. So it was an honor to be chosen from across Canada for this project, and we're hopeful that this leads to a good use of GIS services to help with the challenging work that community agencies face and are doing every day. As I mentioned, Housing Development Services, we're looking at challenging ourselves to have a goal of 100 units of additional non-market housing every year, in addition to anything else that might normally be expected in our work with the province. That would lead to about 1,000 units of housing, and then if we are also adding in trying to secure units of housing that are already in existence that we don't have to build, that would add up to about 1,500 units of housing over the next 10 years. It's a big challenge, and to do that, and but we are hopeful that we can come up with a strategy that can create a pathway for us to, as a community, meet this target, if not more than that. One of the challenges we faced for the last 3 years is that that we really don't have any carrots or any sticks as a system planning organization. It makes our job challenging because it's hard to corral the group of community agencies and do the work we're trying to do when we are when they're busy doing their work and we're trying to help out, but we don't really have any way to sort of bring them along. So I just wanted to point that out. I think carrots was mentioned in the last presentation, so maybe there's a theme here. I made a recommendation that perhaps it is time for us to revisit the Health and Housing Action Plan and look at the items that are recommended there around the role that the city plays and the role that a system planning organization plays in helping to coordinate the functions of the community agencies. As I have mentioned, I think protecting affordable rental stock is a really important role, and we're really focused on that in our day-to-day efforts. So just in general, we're acting proactively locally, inviting provincial and federal counterparts to match our local commitments. We're cooperating between Vancouver Island communities because we recognize that the challenges we're facing on Vancouver Island are unique, and we're also addressing the fact that people do flow from community to community to a certain extent. We're looking at better utilization of approaches to effectively use buildings more effectively. Travelers Lodge continues to be, I know, a real challenge, and I am still surprisingly involved in trying to figure out how we can move that along. And we are committed to a 10-year strategy to build more housing that can address the significant needs that we have in the community. And I'll wrap it up there. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Councillor Manley.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm curious about, on the one slide, housing development services, assisting community agencies, churches, associations with the entire chain of land development in a support role. Have you got any organizations or on board with doing this? Or
we're working with a couple of community organizations at this time. We haven't actually launched any development projects at this point with them, but we're working with them to support them as they go through their deliberations and discussions.
So are you working with organizations that already hold land, like church?
Yeah, they're land
like
holders. They're land. Yeah, land.
Okay.
They own land.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any further questions. Ms. McCormick, thank you very much. Appreciate it. That brings us to committee minutes just for receipt. A motion for adoption of the consent items. Moved Councillor Eastmere, seconded Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. We have no delegations unrelated to agenda items. On to administrative reports. Item 12A, Friendship City Program and Policy. Ms. Mercer, you're going to introduce, and I suspect.
Yes, I'm going to, thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to quickly hand it over to Ms. Manhas, and she'll give you a quick overrun of the purpose behind the report.
Very good. Ms. Manhas, good evening and welcome. You've come here under somewhat trying circumstances, I gather. Our sympathies to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I'll provide you with a quick summary of the Friendship City Program and Policy, which aims to formalize how the city engages in international partnerships with other municipalities. Friendship cities are informal partnerships that can be used to promote trade, education, tourism, as well as cultural exchange. Unlike sister cities, they're less resource intensive, they're more flexible and community-led. Nanaimo currently has 3 Friendship City Memorandums of Understanding, and we don't have a policy that's guiding these relationships. We recently had a request from the Nanaimo Chinese Freemason Society to form a Friendship City relation with Zhangzhou, China, and we have that delegation here. They will be presenting in a few minutes. The program and policy that you have in your package provides a structured framework for how we can initiate, evaluate, and manage these relationships. And some of the program highlights include we want these relationships to be community-driven, so local nonprofit organizations that have ties to a friendship city can apply. Strong community support, so letters of support from other organizations, demonstrating that there is backing for the specific initiative is helpful. Strategic alignment with the city's priorities in terms of our city plan as well as council priorities. So we want to make sure that it's something that we want to achieve. Diplomatic compatibility. The partner city must be in a country where Canada maintains formal diplomatic relations, and that's for good governance and ethical standards. And a detailed proposal is required that outlines the project specifics and plans. And to keep the program manageable, we're saying that we should entertain just 1 new agreement for each year and a maximum cap of 5 active agreements maintained at any given time. That excludes the 3 existing memorandums of understandings that we already have. And the process basically looks like we'll have an online application provided through the city's website, and the local nonprofit can apply. And the Economic Development Officer reviews and provides a recommendation to council. And if council approves, then the memorandum of understanding is signed by the mayors of both cities. And there's an annual activity report that we would ask for the nonprofit to submit, which will be shared with council. And the memorandum of understanding expires after 5 years term, and there's a potential for 1 renewal term. And all of this is based on what some of the other municipalities are doing. There's a number of them that we reviewed while we came up with our own program and policy. This program offers a cost-neutral way to foster global connections as well as empowering our local organizations. And especially with what's happened recently in terms of south of the border, I think it's important to be looking for other partners in forwarding our city's goals. And so I'll close it with that and open it up for any questions that you have.
Any questions for Ms. Manhas? Time? All right, we do have a delegation. Michael Guan and Stephen Ma. Gentlemen, the mic is yours. You'll have 5 minutes between you. When there's a minute left, if you're speaking that long, I will give you the minute signal. Can you just introduce yourself for the record, please? Thank you.
Yep.
And good evening.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Leonard Crow and councilors. My name is Michael Guan, living in 4513 Sheridan Ridge Road. I'm the president of Chinese Freemasons and the vice chair of the Nanaimo Chinese Cultural Society and board member of the Pot Theater. And so first of all, on behalf of our majority of Chinese community, we very strongly support the French City policy. And as you know, on September 27th, we successfully hosted the amazing Mid-Autumn Festival in Mayfield Sutton Park. As Hillary and Cheryl and Janice, they attended, while missing you, the other councilors, with these tremendous events. And those events, overwhelming crowds. And this event demonstrates Nanaimo's strong support for the commitment of the multiculturalism, and it shows that there's the general public backing for the French-City relationship. So currently, Canada has faced significant challenge due to the US tariff, which have had serious impacts on our politics, economic, and the daily life. So as the Prime Minister Mark Carney has emphasized, Canada must adopt a broader and more open outlook to strengthen the global friendship. So the federal government has already signaled this direct clearly, and as an important port city of the Western Canada, Nanaimo should keep the pace with this time and move in step with this broader trend. And another thing that's this year marks the 55th anniversary of the diplomatic relationship between Canada and China. Just last month, the two prime ministers held a constructive meeting in New York, providing the valuable guidance and direction for the future. So we hope if this policy approved by the councils, and we would like to recommend the Yangzhou City will be the first French city after this approval. And the reason why that the Yangzhou City of China shares many values in Nanaimo in areas such as the environmental protection, logistics, education, tourism, and emerging industry with a strong potential for the complementary. And through this French City policy, we hope to create a tangible benefit for the Nanaimo region. And we hope that establishing the French City between Yangzhou and Nanaimo will serve as the first exemplary case under this initiative such the partnership would enable Nanaimo to embrace the words, draw the strength and resource of the other international cities, and expand Nanaimo's global influence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the delegation? I'm not seeing any. Mr. Bond, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would someone care to make the recommended motion? Moved Councillor Eastmere, seconded Councillor Perino. A discussion? Councillor Perino and then Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm actually very familiar with the Friendship City program, and it can be very costly. This is an excellent compromise, allowing us to take advantage of all of the pluses of having a program like this, and still reducing the cost. So I'm very pleased to see that this has come forward. Thank you so much for your presentation. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks so much for the presentation and being here. However, not based on that, just on the policy, I won't be supporting it. I just think if this can be absorbed into existing resources, I would, rather other work be completed, so won't be supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, if I may, to Ms. Manhas, thanks for being here, and thank you to the delegation. If I'm reading the report correctly, Ms. Manhas, it says that actually we already have, as a city, a memorandum of understanding regarding friendship cities. This proposal would simply formalize how it operates.
We actually don't have an existing policy at all around whether we can engage in sister cities or friendship cities, but we do have 3 existing policies or memorandums of understanding. One is with Awatsuki, Japan. Another one is with a city in China. It's in my report here
Ghana.
somewhere. Yeah, and sorry, let me get to that here. Yeah, so there's another one with Sunyani, Ghana, and another one with Gulian, China. So there's 3 existing memorandums of understandings that we have, but they're not really guided by any kind of policy, which generally results in, really no outcomes because there's nothing attached to them. So this policy actually is very effective in the sense that, and this is what most of the municipalities are doing currently, because it states that there are these specific things we will accomplish, and there's a term, a 5-year term, after which it expires. It's very project-based, it's cost neutral to a city. So really there's no downsides to it, because any of the costs for any events or festivals that will happen are incurred by the sponsoring organization.
Right, thanks very much. So I did read that correctly. We do have MOUs, but not policy. And I think policy is important, and I think this is a worthwhile program, especially seen, as you point out, it's cost neutral. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eastmere, then Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you. Yes, I'm happy to support this because specifically the part where it says that under this model, the day-to-day coordination and programming is managed and funded by the sponsoring local nonprofit organization. So I think if this were to be the case for this particular Friendship City agreement that was spoken to today, which thank you very much for that. I think it's really cool that the community organization is stepping up and wanting to help build that partnership to benefit both our city and the Friendship City. And I see a lot of potential benefits to that, especially when you have an organization like the Nanaimo Chinese Cultural Association, which hosted the Mid-Autumn Festival and included a lot of other local community groups in that. And so I think the inclusiveness of that event really spoke to the potential here. So I'm happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you, Your Worship. Speaking in support, I think this formalizes something that is already happening, and it puts some structure that is good for staff and good for those applying to something that's already happening. I also appreciate the cost neutrality of it. So in support, thank you.
Thank you very much. Motions on the table. All those in favor and any opposed? Councillor Brown. Passes. Ms. Manhas, thank you very much for your work on this. Much appreciated. Thank you to the delegation for speaking to it tonight. Again, much appreciated. The next is B, Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw, Waterworks Rate and Regulation Fines. Ms. Gurry, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening again. This report in front of you is for an amendment to the Waterworks Rate and Regulation Fines Bylaw, looking for 3 readings. The city's been experiencing an increase in vandalism with the tampering of the city's water assets, such as turning on fire hydrants, causing property damage, hooking up fire hydrants without a permit to obtain free water, removing parts from hydrants, rendering them inoperative. So as a deterrent, the city is looking to compare itself to other municipalities and increase its fines for tampering with such assets to match what other municipalities are doing. So Mr. Sims as well as Chief Doyle are here if you have any further questions with respect to that, but we're looking for 3 readings for this bylaw this evening.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Not seeing any. Councillor Manley, please.
Move that bylaw notice enforcement amendment bylaw 2025 number 7159.25, a bylaw to assign fines for violations against the Waterworks Rate and Regulation bylaw 2006 number 704 pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
I move that the bylaw pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Perino. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
I move that the bylaw pass third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Very good. Next is item C, the Regional District of Nanaimo Regional, Regional Parks and Trails Service Regional Parkland Acquisition Loan Authorization Bylaw number 1961 2025. Ms. Gurry.
Thank you, Worship. So this bylaw is before you, or this report is before you, pardon me, from the Regional District of Nanaimo, and it's looking for the City of Nanaimo's consent on behalf of the electors to the adoption of the Regional Parks and Trails Service Regional Parkland Acquisition Loan Authorization Bylaw number 1961-2025 for the Regional District of Nanaimo, and for them to be notified accordingly if you do so consent.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Gurry? Recommended motion moved by Councillor Thorpe, seconded by Councillor Hemmons. Any discussion? Not seeing any. This is a wonderful thing. Couldn't be happier tonight. All those in favor? And any opposed? None. Motion carries. Next is item D, Downtown Nanaimo Business Association Business Improvement Area. Ms. Mercer, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Downtown Nanaimo Business Association approached the city earlier this year to renew their Business Improvement Area, or BIA, and do it as a council initiative in the downtown core. So in order to be successful, a council initiative or a petition against requires less than 50% of the owners and less than 50% of the assessed value of the land improvements to proceed. And we do have a presentation from the association tonight, so I won't steal her thunder by giving away the asks for that. But
thank you very much. We do have a presentation. Ms. Bowman, Executive Director, Downtown Nanaimo Business Association. If you'll just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good evening, Your Worship and council members. My name is Roberta Bowen. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Nanaimo Business Association, and I'm also here this evening with the co-chair of the Downtown Nanaimo Business Association, Stephen Johns of Red Shell Decor.
Welcome.
thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you this evening the DNBA's achievement as we look to the future of downtown Nanaimo and the role the DNBA plays in ensuring our downtown continues to thrive. This presentation is about the renewal of the bylaw levy, the mechanism that funds the work we do together for the benefit of every business and property owner in downtown core, not to mention the community at large. The DMBA is a collective voice of downtown businesses and property owners. Through the levy bylaw, we are mandated to strengthen the local economy, enhance downtown vibrancy, advocate on behalf of businesses, and deliver community building events and initiatives. We don't just represent downtown, we activate it, ensuring it remains a place where people want to shop, dine, work, and gather. We position downtown as a premier destination for shopping, dining, culture, and entertainment. Our campaigns are multi-channel, digital, print, and radio, reaching locals, newcomers, and visitors alike. Business spotlights and storytelling highlight the character of our community, giving smaller businesses the visibility they might not otherwise have. Our signature annual events, Winterfest and Picnic in the Plaza specifically, have drawn shoppers, families, and tourists downtown. Seasonal activations during holidays and summer months consistently increase foot traffic, such as the corner concerts we've done in the past and Streets Alive, which we did 2 summers ago. Data has been collected through events such as Night Market that shows events directly benefit local businesses through sales and online engagement. Attendance continues to grow year over year, showing strong community support. We represent businesses' interests at City Hall with MLAs, ministers, MPs, and through various community organizations. Our focus areas include business support, helping local businesses access resources, programs, and connections to thrive in downtown economy, such as the Vandalism Relief Fund, security and safety, working with law enforcement and social services on proactive solutions, such as attending roundtable discussions and advocacy, economic growth, encouraging investment and supporting new ventures, such as working with the Nanaimo Prosperity Corporation, community voice, acting as a trusted representative to ensure business perspectives are included in community planning, such as the construction report that we submitted to Mayor and Council and City staff back in June. This ensures downtown businesses have a unified voice in decision-making spaces. Collaborations with our local chamber, tourism, and city initiatives collectively amplify our reach. Examples include window decorating contests with Island Corridor Foundation and the Old City Quarter, food drives that we worked with Loaves and Fishes, clothing drives with the Island Crisis Care Society and their new location on Victoria Road, sports and charity events that bring the community together, such as the Women of Influence Awards, conference support initiatives to drive visitors and downtown businesses, community events with the Nanaimo Pride Society and the Fresh Start program, business association collaborations again with the Nanaimo Chamber of Commerce and the Old City Quarter, just to name a few. Our enhanced online presence has increased the DMBA's reach significantly. Social media campaigns promote businesses and events, even those with small marketing budgets benefit, resulting in higher engagement. Print marketing, such as coupon cards, magazines, posters, and handbills, reaches audience who prefer non-digital communication. I just want to quickly share with you some of the things that the DMBA has done over the past 4.5 years. And beautification and place-making, we've collaborated beautification projects. This coming spring, we're going to be implementing a tile mural in the development this is in the development stage. It's going to be put on the exterior wall of the VICC Conference Center here on the pillar on Commercial Street. In the past, we've done Indigenous banners with storytelling via QR codes on lampposts. Dinocaw Plaza, we've been part of the revitalization process. Under marketing promotions, our logo is an Indigenous-themed grand design logo. We've done dedicated community engagement coordinator, Anna. She's in charge of our social media reels and all our business highlights. Our year-round campaigns, food, clothing drives, coupon card campaigns, shop local promotions, strong digital presence with growing social media, regular video spotlights, digital newsletters and merchant features, branded print materials and promotional advertising. We've done highway billboards and BC Ferry terminal advertising in the past, tourism marketing in Alberta, Washington, and BC. This predated our current Tourism Nanaimo initiatives. Of course, also Shop With Us, Celebrate With Us, and Stay With Us campaigns. And recently, our newest marketing promotion, the Explore Downtown Nanaimo Guide. In our events, of course, our Picnic in the Plaza, Winterfest, our collaboration in Carnival in the Plaza with Nanaimo Pride Society, strong partnerships with arts and cultures and tourism organizations, and the support for events that draw other community and traffic, such as the Fresh Start program, the artwork, and collaborations with Nanaimo Pride Society. Under the advocation and business support, we have an active presence at City Hall and an advisory and safety task force, consistent business support, networking, resource sharing and promotions, advocating for safety improvements and downtown development. We were instrumental in the Commercial Street construction advocacy through business impact survey, community engagement, and the formal report and recommendations to city staff, mayor, and council. We supported and advocated for the free parking initiative during construction. We put on an art banner contest to beautify the construction zones. And we are constantly advocating to fill vacant storefronts in the downtown core. These are just to name a few of the initiatives that we've done over the past four and a half years. Moving forward, we plan to expand and vibrancy and placemaking. So we look to be doing more public art, lighting, pedestrian-friendly spaces, seasonal decor to position downtown as a year-round destination, creation of third spaces to utilize public spaces more frequently and advocate for beautifying said spaces, support and retain businesses, continue to strengthen communication and engagement with business members, provide more resources and networking opportunities to support resilience and growth, regular engagement with business owners to solve issues that amplify their voices, continue to advocate for these voices so business owners feel heard and genuine below surface issues that can be attempted to be solved. Grow events and programming. So we plan to build on successful events with new and innovative themes, encourage collaborations between artists, musicians, and businesses, support diverse community-led initiatives to bring even more life downtown, driving daytime and nighttime vibrancy. Leverage event data to refine strategies and maximize impact on businesses and participants. The strategic vision for moving forward is to work with city departments on safety, parking, infrastructure through consistent communication and problem-solving initiatives. Push for policies that benefit businesses like tax incentives and accessibility improvements. Provide a unified voice for downtown businesses to ensure they are represented in decisions affecting the future of our city, and regularly report back to members to maintain transparency and build trust within the community. For marketing downtown as a destination, we plan to continue to invest in campaigns that showcase downtown as the heart of Nanaimo's arts and culture district, highlighting its unique offerings in food, retail, and entertainment. Create marketing strategies that promote both flagship events and everyday activities, driving steady foot traffic year-round. Continue to encourage locals, newcomers, and tourists alike to make downtown their go-to spot for shopping, dining, and community experiences. And collaborate with tourism boards and media outlets to expand reach beyond Nanaimo to Vancouver Island and beyond. Under the financial accountability, the levy funds that we are given are invested directly back into the downtown core. We maintain transport fiscal management with clear reporting, demonstrate a direct link between levy spending and community benefit through measurable outcomes like event attendance, safety improvements, and marketing reach. Why renewal matters. Renewal ensures sustained investment in downtown vibrancy and long-term growth, provides continuity for events, advocacy, and marketing efforts that have proven successful year over year, reinforces the city's and the DNBA's shared commitment to creating a thriving downtown. Without the renewal, Nanaimo risks losing its coordinated voice, community program, and the momentum that has been built, especially over the 4.5 years. This renewal is an investment in our collective future. Together, we can ensure downtown remains a thriving hub for business, culture, and community. I welcome your questions and discussions, and thank you for your continued support of the Downtown Nanaimo Business Association.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Very thorough. Take a breath. Councillor Hemmons, then Councillor Thorpe, please.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Ms. Bowman, for your presentation tonight. I just want to say how impressive it is to hear the body of work that's taken place in the last 4.5 years, and I'm happy to support the recommendation tonight. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through you, if I may, briefly to Ms. Bowman, thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your work and your board. I think having a downtown business association is extremely important, and it's important that council hears the voice of downtown businesses. So I was really pleased when you reformed, I think is the correct word, several years ago. And I do have a question, and I suspect I'm misreading this, or perhaps it's a typo in our report, but it reads that in 2020, the DNBA requested that council establish a business improvement area as a council initiative, and it says the petition against process was successful. Now, am I misreading that? Because that would imply to me that you were not successful in forming an improvement association.
Ms. Mercer has the answer.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Thorpe, it depends on whose side you're looking at, right? So the DNBA was successful in having their levy, because they did, there wasn't, the criteria wasn't met to not have it.
So we're sort of getting confused by double negatives.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, and I understand that this is a renewal. I appreciate hearing all the good work that you're doing, and I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Prino?
Thank you, Your Worship, and a question through you. Thank you for the presentation. You're going to sleep well tonight. You went through an awful lot in your report. So just a question for you. How many businesses are part of the DNBA the association? How many businesses?
Through the chair, thank you for your question through the chair. We have approximately 257 businesses and community property owners.
Any idea how many staff, just out of interest?
We are working on that data as we speak.
To know. And the reason that I asked the question is, like all of our neighborhood associations, right? They support their own. And what I love about the work that you do is that you support the entire downtown community, and it's all their staff, the businesses, the work that, you know, the business that they generate and bring to town. I love it. I love it all. Thank you so much. It's great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eastmere?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the presentation, and it's been really impressive to see what the DNBA has contributed to downtown. And I know it's been a rough time for downtown for a number of different reasons. Some of the challenges our city has had, and then I know the Commercial Street project took longer than we were all hoping, and your positivity and communication through that process was really appreciated, because yeah, it was a tough time, and I'm glad that we are seeing the end of that particular phase. I wanted to ask about the Vandalism Relief Grant Program, because my understanding is it's been fully subscribed for this year. Are you hearing from business owners who might have had recent incidents that they're getting support, or what are you sort of telling them? Because I know currently the link on the city's website, when you try to follow it to the chamber website, it's a dead link. So
Thank you for your question. So I am hearing that the very thing, Councillor Eastmere, is that it has been oversubscribed, and businesses who are trying to seek that funding currently cannot seek it, and it's been a struggle for those businesses. I understand that the current funding is $30,000, and if we could possibly have a review of that, that would be very beneficial to our businesses.
okay, I appreciate hearing that. I know that the province does have securing small business rebate that potentially downtown business owners could access in the absence of the city's program, but I've heard certainly the benefits of having that city program, especially some of the proactive steps that people can take, like that we can help fund, which I think is really important. So thanks for your help and feedback on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No further questions. Someone care to move the recommended motion? Move Councillor Thorpe, seconded Councillor Manley. All those in favor, and any opposed? Councillor Armstrong, you're a little slow there on the mark. You're in favor, I trust? Yes? Thank you. Very good. Much appreciated. The next is item E, Active School Travel Program Implementation. Mr. Sims, please, you're going to introduce this.
Good evening, Your Worship Council. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. While Ms. Coe is heading to the microphone to give a brief presentation and overview of the Active School Travel Program and an opportunity for a grant, I'd just like to note that over 20 years, this program has evolved in partnership with the school district staff and with various PACs at various schools. So this is a long-standing and evolving program, and it's becoming better and better all the time, and it's quite in demand. But we have an opportunity to attain some grant funding this evening, and that Ms. Coe will go over. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's okay.
Good evening. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. As Mr. Sims said, we're here today to provide council with an update on Nanaimo's active school travel program and to request a financial allocation that would allow the city to apply for a grant towards building safer school travel routes. So to provide just a very brief summary of our active school travel program, as Mr. Sims mentioned, it's offered as a partnership between the city of Nanaimo and the school district. It results in school-specific plans that aim to get more students walking, biking, and rolling to school safely. So for our first update, is this my clicker? Thank you. Update number 1, these are our most recently completed active school travel plans. 2023 saw one for Uplands Park Elementary, and just earlier this year, about a month ago, we completed those for Chase River Elementary and Cinnabar Valley Elementary. So as Mr. Sims also mentioned, we're seeing increased demand for the program, which is great, but because we're only able to admit a certain number of schools into the program at a time, we're having to look more closely at how we're entering schools into the program. So in partnership with the school district, again, we've drafted a school selection process to ensure that our intake is transparent and fair in light of the pretty significant demand that we're seeing. This selection process will kick off later in the fall, and it will be used for our 2026 program intake. And there's draft materials attached to the staff report that go into that in more detail. Update number 3 is on plan implementation. So this is just talking about how we get these plans off the ground. So the plans include a range of recommended action items that are intended to achieve the program objectives. And as you can imagine, these include recommendations for infrastructure improvements, and that falls on the city to implement those, which has been a challenge because we don't actually have a dedicated budget for that purpose. We've had to implement those kind of in conjunction with other capital projects as opportunities arise. But to allow us to do this a little bit more proactively, the draft financial plan for 2026 to 2030 does include a proposed modest allocation towards annual AST plan implementation. But this year, while we are here today, we have a unique opportunity to implement AST plan recommendations. So the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is offering funding for safe school routes infrastructure. This is through their Green Municipal Fund. The offering is for up to $125,000, which would only cover a maximum of half of project costs. So staff are recommending that council allocates funds towards 3 projects that are recommended in our 2 most recently completed AST plans. So I'll briefly run through what the recommended projects are. So the first one, this was from the Chase River Active School Travel Plan, which is a raised crosswalk across Cranberry Avenue, linking directly to the school entrance. We have a Class D cost estimate for this, which is $40,000. The second recommended project comes from the Cinnabar Valley Active School Travel Plan. This would see intersection improvements at the intersection of Montana and Ohio. This kind of acts as the driveway up to the school property. This comes in with a Class D cost estimate of $80,000. And the third recommended project, also from the Cinnabar Valley, the Active School Travel Plan, is for the intersection of Montana and Ranch View, so just a little down the way from the number 2 recommended project. And this one comes in at the highest cost estimate of $250,000. So we provided a number of options for council's consideration tonight. You'll see the recommended option on page 1 of the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brown?
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks for the presentation. I would just like to move option 1 in the agenda package. I would just like to move option 1.
Option 1, I would regard that as both motions 1 and 2, then.
Correct, in the package, yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Hemmons. Do you want to speak to it?
I would just say, sometimes I get frustrated when it's just a lot of planning and no implementation dollars, so I'm really excited to see the implementation dollars go to something that's been kind of planned out, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hemmons, Gesselbrock, Prino, in that order.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to support a few questions. I found it curious in the report that the AST funding will go to non-engineering improvements, but all three examples that you used are engineering improvements. So I just want to caution community from thinking that doing this will create those engineered improvements, but looking more towards AST elements. And in that, I'm curious, would crosswalk paint be included in some of those pieces? I'm thinking of a number of schools that have just asked for a colorful crosswalk. Would that be included? And would that be?
I'm not sure I totally understand the question. Sorry, do you mind just?
Yeah, so going forward, you note in your report that going forward, these funds will look at non-engineering fixes. Engineering fixes tend to be more expensive. I can find you the... Implementing recommendations within the engineering category have proven more challenging due to significant costs. So AST planning is going to focus on non-engineering fixes. Is that correct? And if so,
okay,
will crosswalk paint and stuff like that be included?
I understand. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So with the Active School Travel Program, we use a holistic approach. So we call it the 5 E's. So engineering is one aspect of how we implement the plans, but encouragement and education are other ways we do that. Typically, those action items fall on the school district, the school communities to really drive forward, challenges, incorporating things into the curriculum and getting active school travel activated that way. So this is specific to engineering implementation items, which is the costly ones, which is why it's more difficult for us to implement those. And as far as things like crosswalk paints, that would fall into the engineering category because it is affecting our streets and how they're designed.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the expression of interest that we are going to ask schools to submit as part of this process, I think that's a great process. My question for you is around equity. I've observed that some PACs have a little bit more capacity, and equity is at play in small community schools in working class neighborhoods. So how will that play into our ability to receive and rank expressions of interest from schools?
So something that we're working on is a very internal document. It's kind of alluded to in here, is how we will be looking at certain data to inform the selection process as well. And part of that will be equity data. I know the school district also has some information through their data that they have through enrollment that would also be able to inform that. And I think we had drafted this, maybe that didn't make it into this draft, but to also ask the question of equity to the schools themselves, because we do recognize that some schools may be very interested in this, may benefit from it a lot, but they're being pulled in so many different directions because they may have equity concerns. So allowing schools to have the opportunity to let us know if that's a factor for them, and then allocating resources accordingly.
Thank you, I appreciate that answer. And finally, the pedestrian unallocated, so if we use this as recommended tonight, that will be our pedestrian unallocated for 2026.
I think we would have about 50,000 left over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thanks. Just a couple questions. It's good to see these projects moving forward. Just in terms of dedicated budget, you mentioned that there will be a decision point for the next budget on having sort of continuous funding for these active school grants. And just a question, I know we had a presentation at Finance and Audit last year about more funding as well for active transportation in general, sort of a dedicated annual fund. Is this AST what's being proposed a subsection of that? Like, will we be seeing something coming from the budget for, like, broader than just the active school programs as well?
I think I'm going to have to turn to Mr. Sims for this one.
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Gesselbrock, I think, yes, the answer, this would be a subset of an active transportation program, but it would be specifically, I think we'd want to show it as a separate line item so that it can evolve over time if necessary.
So larger, something else will be coming in the budget, broader for the active transportation as well. Okay, great, thank you. And then specifically from the funding location, you know, I'm 100% in support of this. I prefer to see option 2, just because our pedestrian allocated budget, there's huge demand for that fund, and it always gets used up, and we never have enough. And I think that we should be funding this out of the Strategic Infrastructure Reserve and that other fund, and not use that pedestrian allocated, and then just do more programs. And so I'm not supportive of this funding pot being used. But I'd like to move option 2 in case this does fail. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino, then Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you, Your Worship. And a quick question through you. Very supportive of this, and thank you for the presentation. Would you just explain to me what Class D means?
There might be someone else on my team who can explain it more fully. It really means it's a very preliminary estimate. We haven't entered into any real analysis to inform like a more detailed design for this.
Okay, so does it go up? In other words, does it go to a C, B, A, as the project goes forward? Is that the idea?
Your Worship, that's, Councillor Perino's correct. It's just an evolution of the project planning and design cycle. So Class D is, you know, when you want to try and establish a budget, it's, you might have a vague idea of what you're doing, and then as you get some things on paper, you sort of start moving
up the ladder.
And by the time you get to ready for construction, your design is as absolutely perfect as you can make it, and we call those Class A.
I just think anything that we can do at this point is an improvement. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the status of an active school travel and Vision Zero grant application for Quarterway. I know that there's a lot of demand for these kind of projects, and was that potentially considered to be part of this one?
Excuse me. So we did receive a Vision Zero grant last year in support of a raised crosswalk project near Quarterway. So that school actually doesn't have an active school travel plan in place. That was a little bit of a sidestep project that we were able to do given the situation at the time. So for this, we were recommending projects that were identified in our recently completed plans. Yeah.
So that project is to come, though? We got funding for it, but it hasn't been implemented yet?
That's right. We're still working through some of the details, but it is, we have the funding from Vision Zero. We have, the wheels are in motion for sure. Yes.
Okay, really happy to hear that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Very briefly through you, if I may, thank you for the presentation and the report. I'll just comment that as somebody who has worked at both Chase River and Cinnabar Valley, I'm well aware of these locations, and I think these are excellent projects. So thank you for bringing them forward, and I will be supportive of option 1. I think the funding source that's been identified is very appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion's on the table. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor, Councillor Eastmere, Hemmons, Mayor Crowe, Councillor Thorpe, Perino, Brown, Manley, and Armstrong, and opposed, Councillor Gesselbrock. Motion carries. So thank you very much. Appreciate this today. The next is F, Manufactured Home Communities Electrical Capacity Assessments. Mr. Holm, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening to you and Council. This is a project that builds on some work that was undertaken as a partnership with the Regional District of Nanaimo in 2024. Funded by BC Hydro, and that was a mobile home park energy efficiency and emissions reduction strategy. So sort of a broader partnership initiative with the regional district. What came out of that was some identification of concerns around electrical capacity within manufactured home parks that was preventing fuel switching and preventing access to alternative lower or zero carbon fuel sources such as heat pumps. So switching from expensive fuels with a larger carbon footprint like heating oil to heat pumps, which would be a cost savings and a greenhouse gas emissions reduction as well. So some of that work identified concerns. What's proposed here is also funded by partly by BC Hydro, as well as funding a small amount, $24,000 from the city as well, would be to fund up to 3 capacity assessments for manufactured home parks within the city to identify the specific barriers and opportunities to upgrade and address capacity issues to support switching to potentially heat pumps and electric vehicle infrastructure as well within manufactured home parks. So what's proposed is a set of criteria, looking for council's endorsement on a set of criteria to evaluate up to 3 applications for capacity assessments in manufactured home parks. The criteria are outlined in the report. I'm happy to go over them if you'd like, and happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Stone, thank you very much. Any questions on this, Council? Councillor Hemmons, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Mr. Holmes. Forgive me if I'm not quite understanding here, but each assessment is going to cost about $6,000. We're going to have 3 assessments. That's $18,000, but the budget is $54,000. Is that to retain the consultant to create the criteria by which we will assess the manufactured home parks?
There's an administrative component to it, and I think we might be a bit low on the estimates. I think it was 5,000 to 6,000 was per. So we might be a little bit low, so we're being a bit conservative. But yeah, there will be some administrative work that the additional funding will support as well.
Okay, and will that administrative work help us make these decisions faster and better next time? It's setting up a structure for us to use going forward. Is that accurate?
I think that's fair to say, although I think this is, I'm not sure that we'll be needing to repeat it necessarily. We're going to learn from this, and as well, BC Hydro will learn from this. It's meant to be applied more broadly to as a, I guess, a case study or a pilot to see, how this might benefit other mobile home communities across the province. It's, yeah, so there will be learning as part of the investment, and hopefully the lessons can be applied to mobile home communities in Nanaimo and then more broadly across the province.
Thank you.
Care to make the recommendation?
Sure.
Councillor Emmons, I'll go to Councillor Thorpe first.
Thanks, I appreciate that, Your Worship. Through you, if I may. A curiosity question, because I recognize in the report that this refers specifically to manufactured home parks. But I've heard the same frustration from various strata developments across the city. Is there any plan in the future to maybe look at those areas as well? And I understand this is a BC Hydro issue. It's not a city issue per se, but it's still important.
Yeah, no, thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Thorpe. That's a great question and point to make as well. Challenges around rental buildings as well as strata, older buildings that weren't, that didn't have the capacity built in can be very expensive to upgrade. Stratas obviously, they have control over the improvements that can be made to the building, whereas a tenant in a rental apartment building doesn't necessarily have influence or control over that as well. So definitely some challenges and work to do in that area. I know there's other programs that are looking at, and that's a province-wide issue as well. And like you said, BC Hydro challenge as well. There is work being done in that area. It's not something that the city's focused on specifically at the moment, but we do have reach out and identify opportunities to work with landlords, and we do have on smaller scale. Council's approved the funding of a program for individual homeowners to do improvements through a third-party lending program we're applying for grant for, as well as the property assessed community energy, clean energy, lending program as well. But it's larger nut to crack on the stratas and the larger apartment buildings as well. But this should give definitely some insight onto how we can help the mobile home communities as well. A lot of those were identified as many of them have oil heat source, so there's a fairly significant GHG reduction there, a shift to a much cleaner fuel. As well, there's the added complexity of with a mobile home park. The tenants actually there are tenants that rent the mobile homes, but there are also the owners own mobile homes within the park, yet they don't have control over the servicing to the park. So this is an area that really needs some attention, and hopefully this will help improve equity to those that want to make that switch and improve their or reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, improve their affordability for heating and cooling and comfort.
Thanks, Mr. Holm. I appreciate that, and it sounds very worthwhile, and hopefully it might provide a little bit of information or a roadmap for others to use in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship, and a question through you to Mr. Holmes. I'm struggling a little bit understanding this. I have a friend who happens to live in Nanaimo in a mobile home park, and she has a heat pump. So are we trying to figure out the capacity for, like, I'm struggling with, so if I lived in a mobile home, in one of the mobile home parks, why wouldn't I just do it on my own?
Yeah, good question through Your Worship. And not all parks will be serviced. Some are probably have more modern higher level of electrical infrastructure, higher capacity infrastructure. So they're not all going to have the same challenges. But it's the capacity of the infrastructure within the parks. Some of them aren't up to capacity to provide electric vehicle and heat pump capacity. Okay. Although some of there's real and then perceived challenges. So some of it is trying to get to, what are the real challenges and what are the perceived challenges. Some of it might just be a communication and information barrier. But you're right, there are parks that do have sufficient capacity to support those options already, and others that don't. And some of the others that don't, obviously, there's an equity piece there and ability of those owners to influence the park upgrades, and then reluctance on the park owners, given their limited understanding of what's required to upgrade, to make the investments.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think it was made already.
Did we make it already?
We made it. It's on the floor.
My God, we've had so much discussion about this, I was almost asleep. Sorry. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next is development reports. There's not going to be any introductions from staff on these matters, but staff are available for questions. The first is housing agreement application number HA14-224 White Court Way. And we do have questions for staff. This juncture, we have Graham Manili. I'm Manili, correct? Pronunciation, yes, didn't muck that up, thank you. Available to answer any questions if council has questions for the delegation. Councillor Hemmons.
Would the delegation like to come to the podium?
And just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. My name is Graham Manili. I own 224 White Court Way, and my brother and I own 95 Kennedy Street. And I currently operate a proprietorship out of White Court Way that operates as a recovery house. And so this is kind of part of a two-part process for me. I'm looking to get some new licensing secured with the city and then register both places with the assisted living registry through province. And I know that Caleb from the housing department gave me a call today and just mentioned that there might be some concerns from residents, so I thought I'd come here and answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you. So my understanding is your request is to move from 5 up to 10 folks in both applications. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Okay. And how long have you owned these facilities?
So
And
I have
operated them?
owned White Court Way for a little over 2 years. The facility has been operating there for about 7 or 8 years. It was previously owned by a friend of mine.
And can you tell me a little bit about your experience of operating these and whether there have been challenges with your population of 5 and if you expect an increase in challenges with a population of 10, or are you just expecting this to go as smoothly as possible?
Sure, yeah. So the application is to have up to 10 residents at each house, although there's 8 bedrooms at White Court Way and there's a total of 9 at Kennedy Street, so that's 7 in the main house and 2 in the carriage house. And we wouldn't have more than 1 occupant per room, so it would be up to 8 at White Court and up to 7 and 2 staff for both facilities at 95 Kennedy Street. Although there are kind of high season and low season times for that business, this would involve a fairly significant expansion. I don't expect that there would be max capacity at either location all the time.
And have you experienced any challenges with the 5 in residence?
Have there been any challenges?
Any bylaw calls or CMP calls?
No, nothing. The only, it wasn't an issue, but as of right now, we are, I guess, registered with the Assisted Living Registry as an unlicensed facility. So they've come and looked at White Court Way a couple of times. And they're comfortable with the way that we're operating now, but we would like to be able to offer additional services like more psychosocial services and budgeting support and things like that. But no, we've never had any bylaw complaints, and our neighbors at White Court know us quite well and are familiar with what we do, and they seem happy with us. So.
Thank you. I have questions specific to Kennedy. Would you prefer that I wait?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also have a few questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Can I ask, I realize that the actual, this is not part of what the request is, but I'd like to know a little bit more about your personal background in this work.
Yeah, of course. So this is something that I think, as all of you know, there's a lot of need for help with addictions and mental health.
Yes.
I'm somebody who has almost 10 years of continuous sobriety. And I don't have a clinical background in this.
Okay.
I'm a CPA. I kind of understand a bit more about the business side of it, and I hire some people that I know in the community to kind of deal with the more clinical stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, one of the things I'd really like to do is be able to have a clinical therapist and some other clinical supports come in with the approval of the Assisted Living Registry.
Okay. Is it a 24-hour staffing?
No, so neither place is going to be 24-hour staffing. I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but I can kind of expand on what we do and what we're trying to do, if you like.
I think the concern that certainly we have heard from some of the neighborhood is, how safe will they be living near this facility? And so that's why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, okay. And sorry, what was your
Sorry, I wondered whether or not there was 24-hour staffing and how that would be implemented? Or is it just a living arrangement? Is that the idea? So, I mean, are people expected to go and get work? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there won't be 24-hour staffing per se at either facility. There'll be 24-hour emergency availability of staff.
Okay.
And at White Court, there will sort of be business hour staffing as well as some other evening staffing as needed. And then the plan is to have at least one staff member that would work at both facilities living at 95 Kennedy Street.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is there's not going to be somebody necessarily awake and sitting at a desk 24 hours, but there will be availability of somebody 24 hours a day. And the
Let's have, listen, and I've got two more very quick questions.
Sure, yeah.
Is this a dry facility?
Yeah, it's an abstinence-based program.
Okay, good to know. And funding?
So as of right now, our funding would be private, which could include families, it could include certain territorial governments, or First Nations. In order to have any other public funding streams, that's kind of another application process. But as of right now, it's the intention is to have it privately funded.
I think the concern for me, Your Worship, is moving up from five unrelated persons to the higher numbers. That's where my concern is. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to be clear, the residents there will be folks who have gone through detox, gone through treatment, and are at the stage of trying to and obviously remaining sober. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and so we have, I've worked with a consultant to have a set of policies and procedures drawn up for this to submit to the Assisted Living Registry. And so to answer your question, anybody coming to White Court Way would have to be a direct referral transferring directly from an approved treatment center. And as of right now, that would be 3 treatment centers on the island. So Edgewood, Cedars at Cobble Hill, or the Healing Institute in the Comox Valley. And then in order for a client resident to be at Kennedy Street, they would have had to complete at least 4 months at the White Court location. So everybody coming to either facility will have completed an inpatient treatment program and will transfer directly from those programs.
And sorry, just to be clear, is the expectation that they may well have employment, or is that part of the program, or are they?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Is the expectation that some of them may well have employment, that this is basically a place to stay and support one another? How does it work in a practical way?
Sure, have employment? Yeah, so the way we want to structure this is for the first couple of months, ideally we would like people to not work if possible and just focus on kind of transferring the skills that they've learned in treatment centers into getting involved in the recovery community, and then start to integrate other things into their life based on a solid foundation in the recovery community. And then once they've completed that part of the process, anybody moving on to what we would be calling the third stage, the Kennedy Street, would be required to be working or going to school.
Is there any expectation of how long one would stay in a place like this?
So there would be a minimum requirement of 4 months. And what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of, especially younger people coming out of treatment centers that really need longer term support. like a year in some kind of supportive recovery housing after treatment to have a really good chance at taking responsibility for their own recovery long term. And so I would say the expectation would be that people would stay between one of the two houses anywhere between 4 and 12 or 18 months.
But probably not longer. In other words, this isn't a permanent place to live. This is a transitional place, if you will.
Yeah, not permanent, but also not transient,
No.
right?
So 4 months plus, basically.
Yeah.
Councillor Armstrong, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that there's many of these all around the city that people don't even know about. We just approved one, I believe it was a year ago, for up to 9 people. They don't have the problems that people are thinking they're going to have, because I think some of people are picturing they're like supportive housing units when they're not. Most of, as was stated, most of these people have been through treatment and they want to stay clean, they want to stay healthy, and it's a spot to get them till they're in a place where they can get to full-time housing. So for these reasons, I'm supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, yeah, I think some of the concerns that have been raised, I think the application, it says application for something with shelter, and I think it's conjuring up ideas of sort of the homeless shelters where people are in active addiction. There's a lot of social disorder around, and I know the Kennedy Street one specifically, it's closer to a school, and so people, I think, were worried about people in active addiction. And so just to be clear, that the Kennedy Street one would be like a third stage, after treatment, they spend time at the White Court, they'd be stabilized at Kennedy Street, integrating into the daily, and it's completely dry. So if somebody does relapse and it's prolonged, they would no longer be staying at that place. They'd have to go to a different location.
Yeah, that's right. So anybody at Kennedy Street would have basically at least 6 months of continued sobriety. They would have gone through inpatient treatment and 4 months at White Court Way. And as part of our policies and the like assisted living registry mandate, it's 100% abstinence based. And we reserve the right to drug and alcohol test people, and if there's any violation of the drug and alcohol policy, they won't be able to stay there. So,
great, thank you. I appreciate the clarity.
thank you.
One of the concerns that's been raised in some of the correspondence we've received today is around what is often associated with facilities, which is visits by drug dealers and others who are involved in what would be described as illegal activities. I take it for practical purposes that there would be no reason for anyone to be coming to these places who is attempting to sell or purvey alcohol or drugs or anything of that nature. Is that fair to say?
Sorry, you assume, I missed a couple words in there. You would assume what?
Some of the concerns that have been raised today by various folks aren't with respect necessarily the residents, but with respect to people who would come to the area because that facility was there, whether it's drug dealers or bootleggers or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so I would suspect that if we didn't have to, if I wasn't here, if we didn't have to go through a process to approve and license this stuff, that people would probably never know what was going on there based on the way the properties look, the people coming in and out of it, and the activities around there. And honestly, the facility that we have at White Court Way, I would rather have that across the street from me with the people living there and what's going on there than some of the neighbors I currently have within about 100 yards of me, right? What we're doing is very safe, and It's something that the community really needs. And there's a need for a number of things, right? There's a need for treatment, there's a need for harm reduction. There's a lot of people suffering out there, and there's a need for all kinds of things. But what we're focusing on is the longer term part of that care for people that have already gone through the initial stages of treatment. And what we're focusing on doing is helping people become, productive, healthy, happy members of society. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question, but.
Thank you very much. Any further questions for the delegation? I'm not seeing any. Just for staff, if anyone's able to answer this, have there been any concerns or complaints raised with bylaws with respect to either of these? Well, we'll just deal with one at a time. With respect to 224 White Court Way, Mr. Holm?
Your Worship, none that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Your Worship, the
Ms. Bopel-Singh.
through Your Worship to Council, Mr. LaBerge has provided some information on this, and basically there have not been any complaints on either property since, bear with me as I try and find my text here. For White Court, the last complaint was in 2019, and for Kennedy Street, 2022.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Oops, sorry, I got one more question.
No complaints since 2019 at White Court Way and 2022 at Kennedy.
Yeah, I just have one more question.
Oh, sorry. All right. I'll let you go, Councillor Gaspard, then we'll get back to
Thanks, Mayor. Just at Kennedy Street, how long has it been operating as support housing?
It's not operating as sober housing right now. We're hoping to expand into that.
Okay, so prior it was like it was just a residential family home, or like was there services being out of there?
Yeah, it was a residential home.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Manley.
Thank you. Just a question for you to staff. If there were challenges with the operation of these facilities, this could be withdrawn, the sheltering of up to 10 people. Like right now, they can have 5 people there without having to go through this process with the bylaw. If there was problems with either of these facilities, could that be rescinded?
Through the chair, while I'm not an expert like Mr. LaBerge, I don't think it would be as straightforward as that. There would be a process to go through. I'm going to look to Mr. Lindsay to see if he might assist a little bit on this one. Mr. Holmes, thank you.
Thank you, Yesh. Through Your Worship, to Councillor Manley's question. So, yeah, the housing agreement. So this, so as you've indicated, so in the city of Nanaimo, in any zone that permits a single residential dwelling, a residential shelter, which is what's proposed here, can have up to 5 people. There's no approval necessary. So the reason that we're here tonight is because we're asking the applicant here, Mr. Manili, is asking for more than 5 people in a residential shelter. And to do that, the city requires a housing agreement to be entered into, and that's a bylaw process through council approval. And so that's what we're considering. And then along with that, so there are provisions in the housing agreement for sort of the administration, management, and nuisance, addressing nuisances potential nuisances related to the operation of the facility, as well as the provisions within the housing agreement for, at the city's discretion, to enter into a good neighbor agreement if there are concerns that arise through operation of the residential shelter. So there's a lot of extra layers, and there, as Ms. Bopel-Singh had referenced, there's process, but there are that we'd have to go through if there are issues that arise. But it's laid out in the housing agreement with notification required, with engaging communication with the operator. But there are a lot of additional layers to potential to address any concerns that could possibly arise with the additional residents that are secured through the housing agreement than there would be with the 5 residents that are permitted in any dwelling unit. Hopefully that helps. Thanks.
I'm just wondering, can that housing agreement be rescinded if that agreement is not adhered to?
Great. Yes, through your worship. Yeah, great point. I missed making that point as well. There are provisions for termination of the agreement if the housing agreement terms are violated.
Okay.
So that would rescind that. In that case, there's process to go through, but there would be there's the potential for that to be rescinded, the housing agreement approval to be rescinded, which would then roll the facility back to the 5, maximum 5, if that's the case.
Okay, thank you. And then just a really obvious question to the delegation. These are folks that have gone through a process where they're trying to improve their lives. They're actually making strides. They're making a commitment to a better life, better lifestyle. And they're there because they want to be there. They're there because that's their goal.
Yes, absolutely. It's 100% voluntary.
Okay.
And they're there because they want to take the next step towards their own long-term sobriety.
Okay, thank you. I'm supportive of the application.
Thank you. If there's no more questions for anyone, Councillor Manley, we have the motions.
There we go. Thank you, sir. I move that housing agreement bylaw 2025.
Mr. McNeely, you can sit down. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship and councillors.
7426 to secure the terms and conditions of occupancy for a residential shelter at 224 White Court Way, pass first reading.
Your Worship, I think he just transposed 7246 is the bylaw number. You said 7426.
Oh, it says 7426 on there.
7246.
7426.
Oh, mine says 7246. All right, let's get this straight.
Just one moment, Your Worship. I'm going to have a look.
Okay, did I have a dyslexic moment? I'm not sure. I read it right?
That's where I'm looking.
Mine says 7246. I understand it's right there, but I'm looking at the paper, okay? Now, are you suggesting that's a higher power than the mayor?
Yeah, Your Worship, it should be 7426. So, Councillor Manley, you were right. I apologize. Please go ahead with that reading that you see on the screen there and what you're reading.
So we're all agreed. It's number 7426, pass first reading, seconded by Councillor Brown. All those in favor? And any opposed? None. Motion carries. Yes, you're opposed. Councillor Perino's opposed.
And I move that housing agreement bylaw 2025 number 7426 pass second reading.
Seconded Councillor Thorpe. Any discussion? Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to say, I am in favor of this. I think I think this is an important goal for people who are struggling, but I would prefer to keep it to 5 people. And that's my only reason for voting against it. I agree with it. I think it's an important facility, and I think you should continue going in this direction. I just can't support more than 5 people in a house. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Himmons.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to support. I feel the proponent addressed all of my questions and the questions of council adequately. Thank you.
I'm going to support it as well, and obviously there's a concern about doubling, but on the other hand, given the history, the lack of complaints and concerns that have been raised, the necessity for this very kind of facility that we are begging on one level the provincial government to provide when it comes to subsidized facilities, etc., it ill behooves us now to turn down this opportunity. If it doesn't work out, it can be shut down. That's pretty clear. And there are certain requirements that have to be met that will be observed. So for those reasons, I'm going to support it. Councillor Manley and then Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to support it as well. We have been asking for these kind of facilities in the city. I think that it would be good to get more support from the province, so it's not all just privately funded, so that people that don't have the means can also access these kind of services, because I've seen people coming out of treatment and having to go back into actual homeless shelters, which is not the place that they should be after, you know, when they're trying to make those changes in their lives. So I'm very supportive of facilities like this in the community. And I trust that if there are any issues, that bylaw will hear about it, and that the operators will deal with it accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to thank the delegation for very straightforward answers. I really appreciated that, so thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor and opposed, Councillor Perino. Motion carries. Councillor Manley.
I move that Housing Agreement Bylaw 2025, number 7426, pass third reading and...
Oh, sorry.
What do you... Stick with the program. And Council directs staff to register a Land Title Act Section 219 covenant to reinforce the terms of the housing agreement following adoption of the bylaw.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor and those opposed, Councillor Perino. Motion carries. Ms. Gurry, I notice we're past the scheduled recess. Suggest that...
Yeah, Your Worship, if you want to maybe finish B, just in case there is any more questions for the delegation.
Okay.
And he could then leave, and then we could have our recess.
Thank you. All right, on to housing agreement application number HA15-95 Kennedy Street. Again, no presentation from staff. Staff present to answer questions, and Mr. Manili is here likewise. Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not going to ask the proponent to come up again, but I do want to note we did have correspondence from the immediate neighbors suggesting that things had not been great, so it was actually really reassuring to hear from Ms. Bopal-Singh that no formal complaints have been made. And I do want to suggest to neighbors that if there are issues, that bylaws is the appropriate call, or RCMP is the appropriate call, and we can track those. And if we need to rescind or re-examine the housing agreement, that is the opportunity to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gurry, you wanted to say something? No? Any other questions or...
Yeah, actually, just a point of clarification. Did I hear correctly that there's not currently a facility running at this address? That's correct? Yes. Okay, so just because some of the emails we had were about parking or about other disturbances, but that's not related to a service that's provided at this point. Okay.
Mr. Holm, are you able to advise what is there now and why some concerns may have been raised by neighbors, given the current occupancy?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I am not. The delegation may be able to.
Mr. Manili, can you give us assistance there?
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. There are currently some long-term tenants, I guess like short to long-term tenants. So I've got a person that I want working on my staff living there already. There's a few other people that are tenanting it that were part of the White Court program. And I think, if anything, like I'm not aware of any specific complaints, but we purchased the house and there's been, you know, some transition with moving furniture in and, yeah, just kind of a transition period. I'm not sure what the complaints would be.
But just to be clear, to follow up on what Councillor Manley's had to say, it's not being operated currently as it is proposed to be operated.
No.
Yeah, just for your awareness, there's been complaints about parking, about noise, about people knocking on doors or people coming into other people's yards. And it may have nothing to do with this property at all, because people experience these kind of things at different places in the city.
Yeah, if there are people knocking on doors or walking into somebody's yard unwelcomed, or parking anywhere other than on the street in front of the property or on the property, I can almost certainly guarantee that that has nothing to do with anybody that's there now.
So the people that are living, that are gonna be living in these spots, are you expecting that a number of them will have vehicles as well?
Yeah, some of them would have vehicles and would be working, and that's one of the good things about both properties is there's ample parking for for 5 or more people.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor
Yeah,
Evans?
thank you. I just want to be really, really clear. We received correspondence from someone in the neighborhood today, just so you know we're not pulling this out
Sure,
of the air. It
yeah.
says, since the current owners purchased the property, there have been multiple incidents that have directly impacted us, including vandalism to vehicles, individuals going through garbage, trespassing between midnight and 3, unknown persons knocking on the door, parking congestion. And I just want to confirm with you that the usage that we are approving tonight is not connected to the usage that is currently operating right now.
I can assure you 100% that anything other than some possible parking congestion has nothing to do with us and is not likely to happen with anything that we're going to do there. So that's too bad. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that maybe they're worried about that some activity in the neighborhood might be related to me owning the house, but it's not.
Thank you very much. If there's no further questions, Councillor Manley, you sit down, please, again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I move that Housing Agreement Bylaw 2025, number 7427, to secure the terms and conditions of occupancy for a residential shelter at 95 Kennedy Street pass first reading.
Seconded, Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? And any opposed? Councillor Perino, motion carries. Thank you. Councillor Manley.
I move that Housing Agreement Bylaw 2025, number 7427, pass second reading.
Seconded, Councillor Thorpe. Any discussion? Councillor Hemmons, and then Councillor Perino.
Thank you.
Sorry,
No, it's okay.
a little fast there on the draw. Go ahead.
Thank you. One of the things that I really appreciated the proponent speaking of tonight is that White Court is staging ground, so people who have just left treatment and are in recovery, but that to get into the Kennedy Street house, which is closer to the school and closer to the park, they have to have had 4 months at White Court, so that's 4 months in recovery, sober. So I appreciate that staging, and again, I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wish to say, I wish we were doing one at a time. I can't support this for doubling the numbers from 5 to 10. I do support the concept. I agree with it. I think it's a great way to start. I'm just not in favor of doubling it, and certainly not, not both at the same time. So thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? And those opposed? Councillor Perino, motion carries. Councillor Manley. Sorry.
There we go. Thank you, sir. I move that Housing Agreement Bylaw 2025, number 7427, pass third reading, and council direct staff to register a Land Title Act Section 219 covenant to reinforce the terms of the housing agreement following adoption of the bylaw.
Well, seconded, Councillor Hemmons. All those in favor? And opposed, Councillor Prino, motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll take a 10-minute break now, please. Thank you for those of you who attended tonight with respect to the matters so far. Item 14, permissive tax exemption bylaw 2025, number 7429. Are we agreed on the number, everyone? I'm going, moved by Councillor Prino, seconded by Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Under correspondence, we have 3 pieces, which are what I call the good news stories. Ms. Gurry, do you care to comment on them, just for the benefit of the audience that may be listening at home?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So for several reports in a row from the BC Ombudsperson's Office, City of Nanaimo has a clean bill of health, I'll say, where they look into reports that they either investigate or inquiries to the office. They have had a couple inquiries, but none have resulted in an investigation in quite some time.
I don't wish to drag up the ugly past, but there was a period of time some years ago when that wasn't true in the City of Nanaimo. So compliments to all, to council members and to staff for running a good, clean, safe ship. And then there's the AVI Health and Community Services Society request for a letter of support, additional funding for primary care services. And there is a motion. And then Councillor Brown, you wish to say something?
I just have a question, and I understand this is just correspondence on our agenda. But I'm just, is it essentially what they're looking for is to create a primary care facility?
Community health center.
A community health center. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Manley?
I actually had my hand up earlier on. I just wanted noted that for the previous permissive tax exemption under bylaws, that I was not in the room, and I was going to recuse myself from that vote, and so I did not vote, and I just want the record to be clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies, I'd forgotten about that. Here I am rushing through.
No
in any
problem.
event, you weren't in the room. You're not in conflict. Thank you.
Okay.
With respect to item 15D, however, Councillor Perino.
Thank you, Your Worship. AVI Health and Community Services is not, in fact, Island Health. And so
Point of order, Your Worship.
Sorry. Councillor Hemmons.
No one has moved that we offer a letter of support, so I'd prefer, if we're not going to move to offer a letter of support, that we don't even debate it. Thank you.
Councillor Eastmere.
Thank you. In reading the letter of support from, or the request for a letter of support from AVI Health, I would like to move that we provide a letter of support.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Manley. Councillor Eastmere, wish to speak to it?
Thank you. We have a really dire need for accessible community-based primary care. There's about 20,000 people in Nanaimo who don't have a primary health care provider. So this community health center would be really directly responding to that need. With this team-based approach, they could care for up to 2,700 individuals. So that supports people who are unattached, who would be living with currently complex health conditions or experiencing barriers to accessing healthcare, and this would give them that access to primary health care. I know that AVI is really most known in the community for their work in harm reduction and supporting people who use substances, but my understanding is that this community health clinic is not designed exclusively or even primarily to serve that population. It's really meant to serve the broader community's primary care needs, and that includes people in that neighborhood who are underserved by the current healthcare system, including people with low incomes who are living with disabilities on income assistance, and people with complex health conditions who would really, really benefit from having access to primary health care. So it's not about duplicating services that may already exist there. It's really about addressing that these gaps in the continuum of care, and the more primary health care that we have accessible in the community, that really takes pressure off like our emergency room, and it provides people an opportunity to stay well and to get access to the healthcare services that they really need before it becomes an emergency situation. And this is going to potentially be a new point of care for people who at this point aren't able to access a family doctor or a nurse practitioner. So I'm happy to support this, and I would hope that council would see the benefit of providing a letter of support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perino, then Councillor Hemmons, and Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first paragraph of the request for support says, "We are seeking your support for AVI Nanaimo to become a publicly funded community health center. This would enable us to add low-barrier primary care attachment to our existing substance use, STBBI, and mental health services, and provide comprehensive team-based care to more than 2,500 Nanaimo residents who live with complex health challenges." My concern with this is that if it was Island Health coming to us, offering this service, not an outside group coming and saying, and being possibly working with Island Health, that would be fine, but I want to hear it from Island Health first. And they are the ones that, of course, have opened up the new primary care center just behind the Country Club Mall. And I'm uncomfortable with opening this type of facility until it comes from the direction of Island Health. I can't be assured that they operate under exactly the same premises. And having worked in healthcare for 40 years, I'm just not comfortable until I see them at the table offering this to us. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you, Worship. I can't support, primarily based on the needs of the neighborhood, which have been paramount at this table, to understand that we could be adding health services to this building that is constantly up for debate in terms of its impact on the neighborhood, while understanding that this applicant did not speak to anyone in the neighborhood, is concerning for me. And just from a primary care standpoint, I have a whole bunch of questions. The 2,700 folks that we are going to potentially attach with this, are we pulling family physicians from the regular family physician pool? I understand the provincial budget has no money this year for community health centers, so this is future focused. I further understand that through a relationship with the primary care network, AVI has available to them an application for a nurse practitioner that doesn't require council approval. And finally, I think there's some inference that this would be open to the broader community. I cannot imagine someone from my neighborhood wanting to go see their family physician at 55 Old Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you. In order, Councillors Manley, Gesselbrock, and Brown.
Thank you. Yeah, I find it discouraging that that AVI hasn't had a conversation with SECA, because I think that's an important conversation to have. But I do see, that this is a proposed community health center that would be in partnership with the Nanaimo Primary Care Network, Island Health, and the BC Ministry of Health. And so those collaborations are important. We do have 20,000 people who do not have care with a primary provider in this community, that don't have a family doctor. People have to line up at 6 in the morning to get into the walk-in clinic just a few blocks away, at Harbor Park Mall, at wherever they call it now, Port Place. And I'm an old timer here. And, you know, we're seeing our emergency room overrun. It's impossible for me to say no to anything that's going to add additional care in this community. And yes, they're going to serve a population, and they have served a population that raises concerns, but they do also serve the LGBTQ plus community. They serve other members of our community that need these kind of services, including Indigenous people. And I think, yeah, I can't be not supporting any efforts to have more community health centers in our community at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. You know, I think the request is to have primary care services, and that means having a doctor on site that people can see. And I think in this community, we're highly underserved. There's a huge shortage in primary care, and you can go down to, you know, the medical arts, and it's like the torture wait, 7 o'clock in the morning, huge lineup, and a lot of having another facility in that area would take a lot of burden off the current situation. And so I think that would be difficult to say no for an organization to apply for funding with the province. You know, Island Health will be involved to offer the service. I also do recognize that the South End community does feel under siege and feels like there's continual concentration of services, and there's a huge amount of anxiety, even to something like this, where it's really attaching a doctor to already the services that are there and people already using them. There is concern that this is just further concentration, and I think there needs to be some further conversation with AVI and SECA to like go through the details of this and to build that comfort in. And I'd be willing to defer this by a couple weeks for those conversations to occur, but it'd be difficult to like vote against this. So, you know, I put a motion to defer this for a couple weeks and have this back on the agenda for some more community conversations to happen, and then we can make the decision at that point. So I'll move that motion if there's a seconder.
Councillor Brown seconds. Any discussion on the motion to defer? Councillor Eastmere. It's all right. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one because first of all, I just never love when someone drafts the letter for us. So like if you're ever writing in a letter to council and seeking endorsement, please don't do that. But putting that aside, it's kind of one of those things that's so outside the wheelhouse that I feel like I need more time to actually go and do some research about what these things actually are. With all due respect to the proponent, you know, they're writing in a letter that they want us to adopt. So I feel like I need to do some research. I also, I don't doubt the need. I don't doubt the need. And I would hope if there is a deferral, that provides some time for the proponent to kind of read the tea leaves a little bit and have some conversations with SECA beforehand. Like, to me, that would have been a no-brainer, knowing the site. So, so that's really why I'm going to support the deferral. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councillor Eastmere on the deferral.
Thank you. I think that further communication with the South End Community Association makes sense to me to make sure that we're all on the same page and understanding what's being requested here. To the point about the fact that there was a letter of support drafted when this request originally came from AVI, it was sent to us. My understanding and recollection was that it was a series of resolution, like it was a number of whereas statements with a therefore asking us to support. And I think that the recommendation was that they actually adapt that into a potential letter of support draft, and that's not uncommon for us to receive draft letters of support. So I don't, that didn't really stand out to me, but if we can certainly rewrite it, and deferring it will give us a chance to really figure out the messaging, if there's a way that we can support this. And I just think, I just have to address the point that Councillor Hemmons brought up about people from your neighborhood not wanting to access primary care at 55 Victoria Road. That kind of stigma around the supports and services that are being provided at that location, I find really hurtful. There's life-saving services being provided at that location, and it just so happens that there is a concentration of services in that building, but these are really, really important frontline health services, and if people in the immediate neighborhood don't wish to access those services, I know many people who would. And so I raise my hands to the people doing this frontline life-saving work of providing much-needed healthcare in our communities. And I wish that there was not so much stigma around.
Councillor Eastmere,
Thank
it's
you.
a motion to defer, and the issue.
Thank you.
should
Yeah,
be
I
done
appreciate the
now or
opportunity
later.
to speak to it, and I will support the deferral. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion is to defer. All those in favor, Councillors Eastmere, Gesselbrock, Brown, and Manley. Those opposed, Hemmons, Mayor Krogh, Thorpe, and Perino. The motion fails. Back on the main motion. Anything further, Council? For what it's worth, I wouldn't be prepared to support this request for this particular location. This council has voted to cease funding for the hub. This neighborhood has suffered far more than any other. Why this council should be supporting the pitch of one organization over another, because God knows who else may want to apply to seek a community health center, which the government's talking about doing across the province, one over the other. I don't think we're qualified to do that. I don't think we're going to learn anything more than what we've learned. And as I say, I'm just not prepared to inflict this on this neighborhood, because we know already the incredible suffering that's taking place. We've made up our minds on one issue, so I won't be getting my support. Councillor Hemmons and Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to acknowledge the comments of Councillor Eastmere and recognize my comments were not meant to be hurtful at all. I want to remind Council, you can look in the budget, there is no money this year for community health centers, so this is premature and it's causing angst. AVI, I understand, has access and is in conversations with the primary care network to bring in a nurse practitioner. The primary care outreach team, which is a group of family physicians that deals with the folks who are primarily accessing 55 Old Victoria, go regularly. This is not a population without access to primary care. They're actually quite well served in that arena because of the work of the primary care outreach team. So, Your Worship, I feel like this is premature and causing unnecessary angsty conversation. Further, you know, if Island Health and the Primary Care Network and the Ministry of Health were on board, I would have preferred to have seen letters of support and shows of support here tonight. So I cannot support it as is. That's not to say I won't consider it in future, but given the state of that neighborhood, I can't support right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe. Final word.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship, and it'll be quick because Councillor Hemmons, I think, summed up my thoughts very concisely and accurately. And for the same reasons, I will not support this. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion is to provide a letter of support. All those in favor, Councillors Eastmere, Gesselbrock, Brown, and Manley, and those opposed, Councillor Hemmons, Mayor Krogh, Councillor Thorpe, Councillor Perino. Motion fails. Thank you very much. We are on to notices of motion. Councillor Armstrong is giving a service of a notice of motion respecting emergency traffic. changing, et cetera. Ms. Gurry?
Yes, Your Worship, she had to leave, but I believe that Councillor Brown is providing the notice on her behalf.
Thank you. Well done, Councillor Brown. Gentlemanly thing to do. The next is the item is other business. Councillor Manley, motion renaming the park at 933 Park Avenue. Councillor Manley. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm moving that council direct staff to name the park located at 933 Park Avenue, 5 acres community park, and if I have a seconder, I'll speak to it.
Seconded, Councillor Eastmere. Councillor Manley.
Okay. Here's what the Canadian Heritage, Canada's Historic Places Registry has to say. 5 acre farm consists of a modest residence, outbuildings, and acreage located in one of Nanaimo's oldest neighborhoods adjacent to the downtown core. The historic place consists of buildings and acreage. The heritage value. The 5 acre farm site is exceptionally significant as the only recognized intact acreage in one of British Columbia's earliest planned communities. In 1884, Samuel Robbins, superintendent of the Vancouver Coal Mining and Land Company, purchased Harewood Estates, a large parcel of land between Nanaimo and the base of Mount Benson. Robbins subdivided the area into 5 acre lots and made them available to mining families as homesteads at affordable prices. Robbins envisioned farming as a way for miners to provide for themselves whenever coal markets were depressed. This property is one of the few remaining original 5 acre farms. The farm includes acreages, house, etc. The sole farm acreage in an area of single family dwellings on small lots, the 5 acre farm is a highly visible and well-loved community landmark. The address on this is 560 3rd Avenue, 3rd Street, which, as you know, is now the home to several large apartment buildings and another small development. 5 acres represents the heritage of the area of Harewood. My father will tell you stories about walking to where the Fairview School is now, to the farm there to pick up a cow and walk it back home up Jingle Pot Road. And so naming the park after the move to preserve it as a 5 acre parcel, to recognize this history, to recognize the contribution of Samuel Robbins. This was the breadbasket of the Nanaimo region for many, many years. It was the first planned community west of Manitoba, and I think that the history of people calling it 5 acres makes it an appropriate name for the park that's been established there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Manley. Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you, Your Worship. Happy to support this. I think the history is quite compelling and lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Thorpe.
Thanks, Your Worship. As Council already knows, I think I will not be supporting this. I think the name sounds very appropriate, but it says 5 acres farm community park, and I would much prefer that this suggestion or recommendation came from the community. I don't think it's really appropriate for council to unilaterally impose a name on a park like this without first hearing from the residents in that area. I'm sure they have no objection, and if we received a letter from the Community Association with a show of support, I would happily support it, but under this current proposal, no, I will not.
Thank you. Councillor Gesselbrock.
Thanks. I'm in full support of naming this. I think there is, in our first term, quite a large community campaign for us to save the 5 acres farm. So a 5 acre farm community park sounds pretty reasonable, and I think it'll be well received. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to support it, and I appreciate Councillor Thorpe's principled position on this in terms of ensuring that the community asks for this, but I think the overall history of this community and for practical purposes, after contact, the history of this community was about the mining of coal. This is an integral part of the industrial heritage and history of this community. 5-acre farms. I did teasingly say to Councillor Thorpe earlier when Councillor Manny was speaking, yes, they were very happy to have 5-acre farms so the miners wouldn't ask for a raise in their miserable wages working in the coal mines. They'd have to be more self-sufficient. That may be a cynical view of history, however. So I think it's an entirely appropriate name. It respects the history of the area, and it respects the fact that we've preserved that last little bit of history in town. All those in favor? And any opposed? Councillor Thorpe. Motion carries. Councillor Eastmere. Motion draft transit-oriented development along the island corridor, please.
Thank you. So I'm bringing a motion that council, as part of the ongoing city plan review, direct staff to seek opportunities and create policies that would support and advance planning of transit-oriented development centers, including Country Club and Woodgrove, in a way that would provide clear connections to the island corridor, which may be used for corridor-related transit in the future.
Secretary Councillor Hemmons, wish to say anything?
Thank you. We're doing this review right now. We're working on planning these transit-oriented development centers. We always say Nanaimo is long and narrow, and the one thing that can really help serve that is using the island corridor for whatever that type of transit may look like in the future, whether it's a train or a train-bus hybrid or just an active transportation corridor. So this really will help us plan ahead so that we're ready to make those connections in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, if I may, I'd like to just clarify with Councillor Eastmere, because I think I just heard her answer my question, but I want to be sure. In my mind, the island corridor should be used primarily, ideally, for rail. And I will not support anything that precludes that focus. Now I'm hearing you say this does not preclude that, so I'd just like to be assured.
Councillor Eastmere.
I'm just asking.
Electronics.
You're making sure that it doesn't preclude rail transit in the future. Certainly it would support the continued ability to use the rail, and that's the highest and I think potentially best use for the rail corridor, but you know, open to flexibility. But I really hope and see a future where that is a possibility for Nanaimo, and thank you.
Very good. Not seeing anyone else. All those, sorry. Councillor Gesselberg.
Thanks, Mayor. I just appreciate Councillor Eastmere bringing this motion forward. I do think it's really important. It is a huge asset having a linear corridor right through town, and there's been changes. You know, the corridor isn't continuous up island anymore. The tracks have been removed up into Neuse, but there is potential down the road for potential LRT on there. But it is a very highly valuable place for utilities as well as active transportation. But we're making plans, you know, 30 years out, and I think it's really important to make sure that we include that corridor as potential central transportation route in any plans that we're doing in the future, and this captures that well. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? And any opposed? None. Motion carries. Ms. Gurry, question period? Well, Council, motion to adjourn. Councillor Hemmons, seconded Councillor Perino. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, staff.